My name is Scarlett Hayes, 31 years old, living in the suburbs of Sacramento, California. In my family's eyes, I'm the well-behaved one, the independent, tough girl, and the free support system for relatives who are always irresponsible, but never short on expectations. For the past 10 years, my life has been nothing more than a free pit stop. Whenever someone lost a job, a relationship, or simply hit rock bottom, they showed up at my door. No asking, no gratitude. And me? I gritted my teeth and endured it because, since childhood, I'd been taught family means sacrifice. The worst was 3 months ago when my cousin, Chloe, dragged her suitcase into my tiny rented apartment and casually announced, "I'll be staying here for a while, just until I find a better place." Naturally, Chloe's while has now turned into 6 months. She wears my clothes as if they're hers, empties my fridge every time she accidentally cleans up. Even worse is Ethan, my 35-year-old cousin, a professional freeloader. Every time he breaks up with a girlfriend, he suddenly remembers his loyal little cousin. First he needs a place to crash, then an urgent loan. Never once paid back. I've put up with it for far too long. But not anymore. Because last week I received the official approval email for my first mortgage. After 7 years of grinding through 2 jobs and taking freelance gigs at night, I could finally afford to buy a small house in Carmichael, about a 20-minute drive from downtown Sacramento. Not a fancy mansion, just a simple single-story house with 2 bedrooms and a small backyard. Enough for a few lavender beds. But for me, it's a fortress of freedom. The final shield against the endless invasions of family. I hadn't told anyone. I wanted to savor that joy a little longer, like a secret treasure. This morning, while I was getting documents ready for a Zoom meeting, I heard the familiar click of my front door. Chloe had once again let herself in with the spare key, the one supposedly for emergencies only. "Scarlett, your coffee tastes awful. I'll make a proper one." She raised an eyebrow like she was doing me a favor, took the cup I had just made, and poured it straight down the sink without asking. I took a deep breath. That's my coffee. And this is my apartment. Chloe smirked. "Relax, we're family. No need to be so uptight about little things." That phrase, "we're family," had become their favorite shield, to trample over my boundaries year after year. My phone buzzed, a text from Lily, my one true friend who never took sides against me. "Are you telling them about the new house at the family party this weekend?" I hesitated. The party was my Aunt Veronica's 60th birthday. The same aunt who loved preaching about family values whenever she needed free labor. "I'll have to. Can't avoid it forever," I replied. It was written, "Want me to bring wine or a dagger?" Lily joked. I laughed. Wine would be more than enough. That evening, after Chloe and Ethan left for yet another social event, code for freeloading off someone else's party, I quietly took the purchase agreement from my bag. My fingers traced the bold letters, "Owner, Scarlett Hayes." For the first time in years, I truly owned something, not borrowed, not compromised, not shared, by their definition. This time, I would protect it, even if it meant going up against the entire family. That weekend, I stepped into Aunt Veronica's backyard with a mix of caution and exhaustion. Her 60th birthday party felt more like a disguised family tribunal, a place where everyone conveniently found tasks for others without ever asking for consent. I barely set my salad dish down before a shrill voice called out behind me. "Scarlett, we heard you've got some exciting news." I turned to see Miranda, my 33-year-old cousin, a self-proclaimed Instagram princess living off her parents since 25, smirking at me. Next to her was Vanessa, 36, freshly divorced for the 2nd time, infamous for treating other people's money as her personal playground. "We need to celebrate your new house. Even if you didn't tell us, Aunt Veronica's been bragging all over town," Miranda said, feigning a pout. Before I could respond, Vanessa chimed in. "A 2-bedroom house, right? Perfect. I've been dying for a change of scenery. My old apartment is such a dump. And Miranda's looking for a place after her roommate fiasco. This timing is just too perfect. Don't you think? I looked at them, trying to process what I had just heard, but they kept going, as if every detail had already been decided. I think I'll take the back room since I need quiet for my online work. And Miranda obviously needs that natural lighting for her live streams, Vanessa said casually, as if it were a given. Exactly. The front room has the best window for content shots, and don't worry, we'll help with the bills. A little from each of us, family stuff, easy peasy, Miranda added, flipping her hair like she was granting me a favor. I tightened my grip around the icy glass of water. I had never invited them, never even hinted. Yet, in their eyes, my house had become their new shared home by default. Suddenly, Aunt Veronica appeared, her voice loud and clear. Scarlett, I've always told you, a house is meant to keep family close. Your mother passed so early, I see you as my own daughter. Now that you have your own home, this is the perfect chance for us to be closer, you see? Oh, I saw it all right. That closeness she spoke of was nothing more than a convenient excuse for endless freeloading under the noble guise of family ties. I was about to respond when Vanessa turned slightly, scrolling her phone nonchalantly. I've already sent you the link for the new sofa set. Go ahead and pay for it first. I'll reimburse you by the end of the month. And I've put down a deposit for beige curtains from my room. We need the house to look cohesive, Miranda chimed in, without a hint of shame. It felt like someone had landed a punch straight to my gut. They had taken it upon themselves to decide everything. The living arrangements, the furniture, even my wallet. My phone buzzed, a text from Lily. Your cousin just posted a story. Moving into our new home with family. You better brace yourself. I drew in a long breath, forcing down the anger rising up my throat. Deep inside, though, I knew my patience had reached its limit. Miranda, Vanessa, listen carefully. My voice was oddly calm, though my heart was pounding like a drum. I never invited anyone to live with me. That house is my personal space. There will be no roommates, no shared rooms, no splitting bills, and absolutely no using my card for your group shopping. The backyard fell silent. Everyone turned to look at me as if I had just dumped a bucket of ice water over their heads. Vanessa blinked, then chuckled. Scarlett, why so serious? This isn't something to make a fuss over. Miranda shrugged. Exactly. Family helps each other. You're overreacting. I think Veronica placed her hand on my shoulder, gentle in appearance but heavy as stone. Scarlett, your mother would be heartbroken seeing you behave this way. Remember, we only have each other. The same old guilt song, playing on repeat. I looked at her, then at my two cousins, their faces expectant, waiting for my usual compliant response. This time, I smiled. Not the smile of resignation, but the kind of smile you wear when you know exactly how the game will end. Because you're the one holding the deck. Well then, all right, I spoke slowly. Since we're family, let me handle the arrangements properly. You two just focus on packing your bags. I turned and walked away, leaving behind three faces twisted in a mix of confusion and excitement. They had no idea that this time, I was the one moving the pieces. That evening, when the apartment finally returned to a rare quiet, I sat alone at the kitchen table, a warm yellow light casting soft shadows on the worn wooden surface. In front of me lay the house purchase agreement, a symbol of pride I hadn't even had the chance to enjoy, now buried under the weight of their shameless demands. I unlocked my phone, scrolling through contacts until I landed on a familiar name, Owen Blake, a college friend now managing logistics for a small company in Sacramento, a man who knew how to keep things discreet, and even better, how to handle delicate situations efficiently. I type, Owen, do you know a place that rents out storage units? The more private, the better. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang. "Scarlett, are you planning a relocation or a personnel cleanse?" Owen's tone was dry with a hint of amusement, though I knew he was dead serious underneath. "Cleanse," I replied. "Flat?" "Then you've called the right person," Owen chuckled. "I'll set you up with a 10 by 15 unit, about 10 minutes from your place. Rest assured, no one's going to mess with it." The first step of my plan was in motion. For the next 3 days, Miranda and Vanessa showed up at my apartment more often than Amazon deliveries. Each time they'd accidentally bring a few more items. Suitcases stuffed with clothes, yoga mats, candle racks, a collection of wine glasses engraved with Miranda's mood, and, of course, boxes of cheap, sparkling costume jewelry. "I think this standing mirror would look perfect in our living room," Vanessa said casually, slamming an oversized gold-framed mirror against the wall. "I've ordered a Scandinavian-style rug. They'll deliver it this weekend. I'll just use your card for now, Scarlett. Saves us all the hassle," Miranda added, eyes glued to her phone, issuing commands like it was her house. I didn't respond. I simply smiled, raising my phone to snap photos of each item, every invoice they so casually assigned to me. Everything was neatly stored in a special Google Drive folder aptly named The Truth. That evening, I sifted through messages. Miranda had sent me a link to a sofa priced at $2,500, with the message, "You buy it first, I'll pay you back later. Promise." Vanessa, not to be outdone, had sent photos of imported curtains, with the note, "Just investing in our home, that's all." Every word, every image, I archived them all meticulously. Owen didn't disappoint either. On Friday afternoon, he sent me the lease agreement for the storage unit, along with a message. "The unit's cleared out. I even set up a private security camera just for you. Should make for some entertaining footage." The so-called pre-move day, Miranda's words, not mine, arrived sooner than expected. "We're bringing a few more boxes today. Easier to get a head start. Make sure you've got space ready," Vanessa texted at 8 a.m. I replied, "Don't worry, everything's ready." That afternoon, as Miranda and Vanessa lugged their belongings into my apartment, I maintained a calm, pleasant smile. They had no idea that every time they turned their backs, I was quietly filming, snapping photos, gathering evidence for the bigger play ahead. "Scarlett, I scheduled a full cleaning service for the new house. They'll send the invoice to your email," Miranda announced, not even looking up. I stood there, composed, like a prop in their family drama. That night, I called Owen. "I need a truck for Monday, not the usual moving rental. I want this handled smoothly, discreetly, and most importantly, only you and I know the final destination." "Scarlett, hearing this from you makes my day," Owen chuckled. "Trust me, they won't know what hit them until it's too late." They ended the call and opened my laptop. Photo files, videos, text threads filled the screen, each one a record of how they had taken advantage of me. Each invoice, each empty promise of, "I'll pay you back." This time, there would be no shouting matches, no tears, no begging for respect. I'd let them learn their lesson the simplest, most effective way. Silence. And a well-executed plan. They wanted to move their things into my house? Fine. I'd let them carry every box into that truck, basking in their imagined victory. What they didn't know was that the truck's destination would be nowhere near where they thought. I wouldn't stop them. I'd even help make their move as smooth as possible. Monday morning, Sacramento was crisp and cool after a night of rain. The air felt freshly washed, though I knew today would get messy. Courtesy of the performance my dear cousins were about to put on for themselves. At 8 a.m., Vanessa texted, "What time's the truck arriving? I told them to be extra careful with my stuff." Moments later, Miranda chimed in. "Remind the driver to be cautious with the rug and the mirror. That wasn't cheap, you know." I replied simply, "Everything's arranged. Don't worry." At 9 a.m., the truck Owen had secured pulled up in front of my apartment. Unmarked, plain white, it was as inconspicuous as possible. Yet it was precisely what would turn Vanessa and Miranda's little takeover fantasy into a rude awakening. Scarlett, we'll load up everything ourselves. You just sit back, relax, enjoy your coffee. Miranda beamed, blissfully unaware of the trap they were walking into. I stood by the porch, fingers wrapped around a warm mug, silently watching them haul box after box into the truck. Designer knockoffs, random luxury wannabes, all mixed together in their delusion of moving in. Vanessa even had the audacity to direct the movers. Careful with that box, it's part of my collection. Scarlett treasures these things, you know. I bit my lower lip to suppress a smile. Yes, I did cherish these moments, but only because they were willingly helping me clear all their junk out of my life. When the last box was loaded onto the truck, Owen walked over, glancing at my two cousins, still busy planning the renovation of their dream home. All set, Scarlett. Destination updated. The storage unit is waiting. I nodded. You did well. Be careful. They won't let this go easily. Vanessa waved enthusiastically. Scarlett, Miranda and I will head to the new house first to start setting up. The truck can come later, no rush. I smiled sweetly. Wonderful. See you both there. They sped off, thrilled. I calmly pulled out my phone and texted Owen. Don't forget to tip the driver for his discretion. Owen replied instantly. No worries. You're in for a very entertaining afternoon. 30 minutes later, my phone rang nonstop. Miranda's name flashed repeatedly. I let it ring until the third call before answering, my tone nonchalant. Have you reached the house yet? Scarlett, where's the truck? It's been half an hour and still no sign. Probably stuck in traffic. Relax, Miranda. But Vanessa wasn't so easily pacified. A few minutes later, she sent me a screenshot from the truck's tracking app. Scarlett, care to explain why the truck is parked at Cedar Storage instead of our house? I lifted my coffee cup, gazing out my apartment window. One last look before leaving for good. Take a wild guess, I replied, my voice cold and steady. Less than 10 minutes later, Miranda called back, this time screaming. Scarlett, stop messing around. Why is our stuff at a storage unit? Because I hired the truck to move your things there. Simple as that. A deadly silence followed for 3 seconds before chaos erupted on the other end. You can't do this. Do you think this is funny? We're family. I cut them off with a firm response. Being family doesn't give you the right to invade my personal space. I opened a folder labeled The Truth on my phone and emailed Miranda and Vanessa every piece of evidence. Photos of their belongings, screenshots of messages where they volunteered to bring their stuff, invoices they dumped on me, and videos of them gleefully loading the truck this morning. Along with it, I sent a short message. All the evidence is ready. If you want to sue, I'll be waiting. A few minutes later, Miranda texted back, her words shaky. I'll tell Aunt Veronica about this. The whole family will know how you've treated your own cousins. I leaned back in my chair, chuckling softly. I hope you do. Let everyone see who's really taking advantage of whom. When Vanessa called one last time, her tone had softened, trying to salvage control. Scarlett, do you really want to escalate things this far? We're family. A little compromise wouldn't hurt. I've compromised enough, Vanessa. Now it's your turn to learn what boundaries mean. That afternoon, I stood in front of my new house, iced tea in hand, taking in the quiet surroundings. No one barging into my living room to decorate with scented candles. No one claiming space. No one assuming ownership of this land but me. The final text from Owen appeared. Storage unit lock has been changed. Don't worry, only you and I have keys. I exhaled, feeling for the first time that this house truly belonged to me. I knew it wasn't over. And sure enough, right on cue, Aunt Veronica wasted no time summoning an emergency family meeting for Saturday afternoon under the guise of resolving internal conflicts. But in reality, it was an unofficial trial where my guilt had already been decided. Scarlett, you'll be there, right? Aunt Veronica texted, her tone leaving no room for refusal. Of course, I replied, curt and cold. They thought I'd bow my head and apologize like always? They couldn't be more wrong. That afternoon, Aunt Veronica's living room was packed. Not a single member of the Jennings family was missing. All those relatives who acted kind as long as it didn't affect their own interests. Miranda and Vanessa sat smugly on the sofa, wearing faces of fake sorrow, as if they were victims of abandonment. Aunt Veronica stood in the center of the room, arms crossed, eyes sharp and accusatory. I stepped inside. Finally here. Then let's hear it, Scarlett. Why have you done such disgraceful things to your own cousins? Aunt Veronica started her interrogation, voice hissing through clenched teeth. What did I do, Aunt? I tilted my head, a faint smile playing on my lips. I simply helped them move. Even hired a truck, a storage unit, and paid for the first month. Very responsible of me, wouldn't you say? The room erupted in gasps. Vanessa's face flushed bright red. That was a setup. You tricked us. That house was supposed to be for family. Miranda jumped in, tears welling up. How could you do this to us? We used to be so close. I nodded slowly, pulling out my phone, calmly scrolling through photos, messages, videos. The room fell into stunned silence as each piece of evidence lit up the TV screen. Miranda sending me invoices to pay. Vanessa casually talking about placing her stuff in my house as if it was her right. A video of them happily loading boxes onto the truck, laughing and chatting. I let the evidence speak for itself. When the last video ended, I looked straight at Aunt Veronica. You called me ungrateful. But since when does gratitude mean letting people stomp all over your boundaries? Aunt Veronica pressed her lips into a thin line, refusing to back down. I took you in after your mother passed. Gave you a roof. Gave you family. And this is how you repay us? I sighed. Aunt, what you did was a responsibility, not a favor. You took me in to polish the family image, not out of love. Don't use that as an excuse to justify 2 decades of control and abuse. The room was dead silent. I had never said those words out loud before. But now, I wasn't afraid anymore. From the corner of the room, a steady, firm voice spoke up. The girl is right. All eyes turned to my grandmother. Eleanor Jennings, 78 years old, petite but never weak. Scarlett has endured enough. You all keep preaching about family, but in truth you only know how to exploit it. She slowly stood, leaning on her cane, making her way toward me. From now on, Sunday family dinners will be held at Scarlett's house, she declared, her sharp gaze sweeping across the room. But only those who understand respect will be welcome. Anyone wanting to keep their old habits, please stay away. Miranda's jaw dropped. Vanessa turned pale. Aunt Veronica struggled to stay composed, her fists clenched until her knuckles whitened. Mother, how can you take her side? She's disgracing this family, Aunt Veronica nearly shouted. The grandmother smiled, slow and razor-sharp. No, she's teaching this family what boundaries mean. And if you feel ashamed, it's because you've forgotten that lesson for far too long. I stood silently, throat tight. For the first time, I wasn't alone in this battle. That meeting ended with a suffocating heaviness. I walked away amidst the uncomfortable silence of people who had just seen their true reflections. But for me, it was a moment of liberation. My grandmother quietly held my hand before getting into her car. You did well, Scarlett. But don't think it's over. Those spoiled brats won't give up so easily. I laughed. Yes, Grandma, but this time they'll be playing by my rules. Just 3 days after the trial at Aunt Veronica's house, I received an email from a local law firm. Subject line, Notice of Lawsuit. The sender? Miranda Jennings. I didn't even need to open it to know what it said, but for the sake of the script, I clicked it anyway. Accusations, unlawful possession of personal property, emotional distress, and damaging the family's reputation. Before I could even laugh, a message from Vanessa popped up on Facebook. Scarlett, You're turning yourself into the family's enemy. It's not too late to fix this. Hilarious. As if I was the one who started this war. I forwarded the lawsuit email to Owen with a note. Prepare a full report for me, all the data I sent you earlier. Owen replied briefly. Understood. I'll make sure their lawyer gets a beautiful file to admire. Exactly. 3 days later, Miranda's legal team withdrew the lawsuit without any explanation. Owen sent me a screenshot of their email, which contained only a few words. The client has decided not to pursue the matter further after reviewing the evidence provided by the opposing party. A clean victory. No arguments needed. But of course, it wasn't over. In the following days, my phone was flooded with messages from relatives near and far, a mix of concern, disappointment, and outright criticism. Scarlett, no matter what, Miranda and Vanessa are still family. You should be more accommodating. Aunt Karen. You're basically cutting ties with the entire family. Uncle Harold. Family is forever, Scarlett. Don't be so stubborn. Aunt Martha. Meanwhile, Miranda began posting cryptic status updates on social media. It's sad when someone you considered family turns their back over petty ownership. Vanessa wasn't far behind, sharing articles about the selfishness of the younger generation, along with photos of boxes retrieved from storage, captioned, "Things that once held memories are now treated like garbage." I read them all. Not with anger, but with pity. Then, on a Friday afternoon, while organizing my bookshelf in my new home, where every item was mine, placed exactly where I wanted, I decided to end this game. I picked up my phone and blocked every number, every social media account, one by one, no hesitation. Family is forever. That's something I don't deny. But toxic relationships don't need to be. Shared blood does not grant anyone the right to exploit others. Owen messaged me. You sure? They'll keep making noise on Facebook, Reddit, Nextdoor, every platform they can find. I replied, they can say whatever they want, but they will never cross my doorstep again. That evening, as I sipped my glass of red wine, Grandma Eleanor called. Scarlett. I just watched that circus on Facebook. Quite the show. But you don't need to bother. Those who truly know you won't fall for cheap tricks. I smiled. Grandma, I'm fine. Really. I just feel sorry for them. They've spent their entire lives believing they're entitled to take from others. Grandma chuckled softly. Then let them learn that lesson the hard way. Everyone pays for the boundaries they refuse to respect. Before hanging up, she added, This Sunday, I'm coming over for dinner. Not the old family dinner nonsense. Just me, you, and the people who deserve to be there. I realized then that I had finally found what I thought was impossible all these years. A real family. Small but genuine. Sunday night, my kitchen was filled with the warm aroma of baked lasagna, soft jazz music drifting through the air. No arguments, no intruders rummaging through my fridge or piling up their belongings like it was theirs. Just me, Grandma, and Lily, the one friend who stood by me when my so-called family turned away. Grandma raised her glass toward me. Scarlett, do you know what's truly important here? It's not this house, nor the things in storage. She gently placed her hand over my heart. It's the feeling you have right now. Freedom, peace, and self-respect. Grandma clinked her glass with mine, her eyes shimmering with quiet joy. Not everyone has the courage to reclaim their life. Today, you did. I smiled, not needing to say anything more. The answer was already here, in every tidy corner of this house, in every gentle breath of a peaceful evening. In the mirror near the window, the reflection showed a woman sitting in her own space. No crowding, no need to make room for anyone else. That was the clearest answer of all. Outside, the breeze gently stirred the newly planted lavender pots. I poured myself another glass of wine, savoring this quiet moment. On Monday morning, for the first time in months, I woke up to complete silence in my house. No Miranda shouting from the living room, No Vanessa perched on my kitchen counter rummaging through my tea box as if it were her birthright. Only warm sunlight streaming through the curtains, the smell of coffee I brewed myself, and the soft hum of old jazz from the radio. Funny how mere silence could feel like shedding an invisible shackle. My phone rang. Scarlett. It was Owen. Everything settled. Miranda's lawyer confirmed they're dropping the case, and Vanessa's busy deleting every smear post on Facebook. His voice was gleeful, but I only chuckled softly. Let them scramble with their old tricks. Just then, another notification popped up. A message from Nathan Walsh, my 34-year-old neighbor and owner of the small bookstore on the corner, who had quietly helped me more times than I could count when my cousins caused trouble. Beautiful day today. New house, new beginnings. Lunch? I know a place with the best lemon tarts in Sacramento. I stared at the screen for a while, not because I was surprised, but because I realized how many years I had spent dodging genuine kindness, too busy defending against those who never deserved my energy. I typed quickly, Noon, don't forget the iced coffee. Nathan picked a small, quiet cafe about 15 minutes from my place. No fuss, no crowd, just the soft clinking of silverware and the rich scent of pastries. You look different today, Scarlett. He set the coffee in front of me. Like you're finally breathing after being underwater for too long. I laughed. Breathing. Indeed. But this time, in my own air. We talked about little things. The new book Nathan had just stocked, the small plant corner I was planning for my backyard, even silly debates like which lavender variety handles the sun best. No one mentioned Miranda or Vanessa. No one brought up the Jennings family. And I didn't feel the need to either. They were part of an old story. I was here, writing my next chapter with simple, ordinary things. That, to me, was the most luxurious thing I'd ever had. In the afternoon, I returned home, carrying a few small flower pots Nathan had gifted me. Stepping through the wooden gate, I felt a strange yet familiar sensation. The house was the same, 2 bedrooms, a cozy little backyard, but the feeling was different. This was no longer a space where I had to tread carefully, guarding every step, every item I owned. Everything in this house, from the armchair in the corner to the teapot on the kitchen shelf, was chosen by me. Not to please anyone else, simply because I wanted it that way. I placed the new lavender pots in the sunniest spot in the backyard, stepping back to admire them. No empty promises from others. No plans to crowd in to take over. No one assuming I was obliged to accommodate them. Just a small piece of sky, entirely mine. That evening, as I sat by the window reading, a text came from Grandma. Welcome home. No long-winded wisdom, no empty flattery. But I knew she understood exactly how I felt. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Nathan standing there, holding a small box of pastries. Just making sure you actually tried the lemon tart, as promised. He smiled, his eyes warm. I invited him in. No formalities, no pretense. That night, in the simple space that was mine alone, we shared pastries and small talk. Nathan handed me the box and stood there, waiting to see if I'd invite him in. I simply leaned aside, holding the door open. No polite pleasantries, no hint of reluctance. He stepped in, walking past the new rug I had just picked out last weekend. In the corner of the living room stood the brass reading lamp I had loved for so long, once dismissed as too old-fashioned. Now, its light shone directly onto the page of my unfinished book, with no one daring to criticize it anymore. Nathan placed the pastry box on the table, accidentally nudging aside a folder labeled Private. He didn't ask, and I didn't explain. Those with enough grace understand which things are better left unsaid. I poured the tea, the soft scent of lavender gently filling the room that had once been noisy with other people's voices. Only the quiet clink of a spoon against porcelain remained. Every other sound was unnecessary. I said nothing about the past. Nathan didn't ask. We sat there, in the beautiful stillness that had never existed in my world before. Outside, the breeze lightly swayed the newly planted trees. No one rushed. No one crowded. The house, at last, was a true home again. Not a landing pad for those hiding behind the word family. The tea in my cup had cooled halfway. I hadn't bothered to refresh it. But that was all right. Everything now felt full, just as it was. No words needed to be spoken. In real life, Scarlett's story reflects a familiar truth. Not everyone who calls themselves family understands how to respect boundaries. Kindness doesn't mean enduring being a fallback for others' irresponsibility and entitlement. Like Scarlett, everyone has the right to keep healthy relationships and bravely step out of toxic cycles. Sometimes, peace comes simply from daring to close the door on those who no longer deserve a place inside. What do you think about Scarlett's story and how she protected her boundaries? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt stories about family and life lessons to come.